This week on The Photo Nerds, Paul does a runner, Gary reaches new heights with his photography, and I discuss my weaknesses. Also, we discuss planning your photography.
So, welcome to another episode of Photo Nerds.
What episode is it?
I don't know. Episode 24. It doesn't matter. Well, no, it doesn't matter. It's changed because there's a couple of episodes that we're not put out, have we? Because we're not happy with the audio. But welcome. And
what have you been up to, Gary?
Yeah,
keep it short though, right?
Why are you asking that question, Gareth?
Let me just answer me one thing, Gary. It's got nothing to do with pianos, has it?
Oh, thank heavens for that. Maybe we should put an apology out for anybody listening to the last episode.
I'm going to unplug my microphone. I don't know why I bought this. I'm not using it.
You should read the comments.
Seriously.
Gareth said to us, well, what we've got to do is we've got to start taking the mick out of each other a bit more. And
I didn't mean me. I meant him.
Like it.
I said each other. I meant Gary.
That new guy talks too much.
He does. But stop writing them comments, will you? Yeah. Okay, how many A-listers you've got on YouTube? Go on.
So what have you been up to, Gary?
Keep it short.
Keep it short.
Have you fell through any more membranes?
Any more membranes? No, nothing. 2 weddings last week. Commercial shoot last week for a newborn baby shoot. Do you ever do them?
Commercial for a newborn baby?
No, not a newborn baby shoot. Do you ever do them?
Only my son when he was born. That's the last one I've done. I did one recently.
I turned down a commercial shoot last week.
Oh yeah.
Which is quite a sizable shoot. I didn't want to do it because it's jewellery. Jewellery is always a pain in the ass. Have you ever photographed jewellery?
I have.
It's just such a pain in the ass. There's so much post-processing, and clients, the problem is with that, clients don't appreciate how much post-processing work that actually goes in to photographing jewellery.
Yeah, you mentioned this about watches, didn't you? And they said they want to pay 50p an image, right?
No, you have to, with commercial work, and I think it's the same with wedding photography. I'll keep this short. You have to keep your product, your service, and your product, your quality of your images, and your price have to be sort of very specific to a market. You can't just say, "Do you do commercial photography?" Yes, because there's no way you can do what you've just experienced.
You market as per time.
Yeah, because you have to give a certain quality for your time. Because if you're an amazing photographer and you say, well, I'll do a quick job for you, they're still going to get an amazing photographer's work, even though it only took him 10 minutes.
That's correct. But somebody that's just created a diamond necklace, shall we say, they just assume they just want a couple of pictures for their website.
That's different, yeah.
That's all they want.
Yeah.
And they don't realise, well, hang on a minute.
It has to be in the brief, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, those couple of pictures. And more often than not, they'll come along and give you examples. Well, this is what I want it to look like. You know, they're now looking on Prada's website. Do you know what I mean? And you're like, oh, hang on a minute. That just doesn't happen in 5 minutes. If it does, take a picture with your iPhone and put it on your website. So the problem is pricing jobs like that up.
You've got what's called pack shot photography, which is different again anyway. So product photography and pack shot, you get a lot more creative, a lot more, a bit like if you see these pictures on billboards of a BMW. We've mentioned BMWs a lot, don't we? And you'll see all these perfect shines down the side of the car.
Yeah.
I won't mention that happens on pianos as well, but so you've got these perfect reflections that are basically vector. So they take a base image, stack the life out of it, loads of different lighting, composite the actual image, and then draw on those shades and those tones and those reflections. They're all pretty much, it's easier to draw on than it is to create them with the light.
So time consuming in post production.
What did you do? You didn't do it then?
No, I didn't do it. No.
Have you got macro lenses?
Yeah, macro lens, yeah.
I haven't got any for my current system.
Yeah, I got the 100mm one, which is the 2.8, which is the best one in the industry.
Yeah.
We do a lot of commercial work, but I say I do a lot. We did a lot, but I don't chase the work anymore.
It just comes to you.
No. Maybe that sounded a bit big-headed. What I'm saying is, no, I don't chase that work anymore. That's all. At one time, obviously in business, none of us can sit back and just let it happen. You've got to go out there and make it happen.
Yeah.
Well, I make it happen less now because I'm more committed to my YouTube channel. That's all. Because that suits me. No other reason.
You been anywhere cool recently?
Yeah, I went down south to interview Mike Brown. I'm not sure if I mentioned that, but I should have actually put that video out by now.
I haven't seen that. It was a while back, wasn't it? It was a couple of weeks ago, was it?
Yeah, but I've been back and forth with Mike to try and get a few things ironed out and a few things changed. I've been chasing Mike actually to get some pictures for the website because it's nice to be a little bit more visual. You know, when an interview just sat there just talking away, it's much better if you're talking about pictures to actually show the
Perhaps
pictures.
If you did a dance while you were interviewing, that would be visual enough.
I'm really impressed with the video I put together. I won't obviously going to blow smoke up my own backside now, but
it's not like you.
No, I did a lot of research online, and I asked him what his influences were, or who his influences were. And when he gave me his influences, of course, I then looked them up, hunted down pictures, hunted down little video snippets, incorporated them all into my YouTube video, which I'm very impressed with. And he absolutely loves it, by the way. He loves it. But he just wants, we talked about a business, so he wants me to put a snapshot of a logo with a business on. And so now I've got to go back and re-edit the whole thing. It's all there, don't get me wrong, but you know what it's like.
Yeah.
By the time you render a video, then by the time you upload it to YouTube, that takes hours. Now, I'm not just sat there looking at it, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, you still got to factor that time in.
Of course.
And so now I've got to redo all that or refactor that time back in. But that'll be out probably maybe on Sunday. But I've also got about 4 or 5 vlogs ready to go. Say ready to go, ready to start the editing process.
Yeah.
Because either I'm doing it wrong or people really don't appreciate how long it actually does take to edit.
Unless you do it, it's hard to explain. It really is. Because even if you try and, like, my missus says, oh, how long is it going to take you to do that video? And I'm saying, I'll try and do this, that, and then that's that. And then, okay, about 8 hours. She's like, sorry, what? You know, anything of like, it's going to take 2 hours for this. And you go, it takes 2 hours to do that? Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Just even sometimes just leaving it render and writing descriptions and things like that. And, and then you've got to reply to comments and stuff, which all adds up, doesn't it?
The last one, have you ever noticed, I've got this, you can check a video again, right? You don't see any typo errors until
post it.
You post it.
Exactly.
And it's like, oh my God, it's so annoying.
I'm horrendous for it. I'm not the world's best speller anyway. I'm so lazy when it comes to that. But every video I put out has got something. I'm dreadful. What have you got? Is that a delivery?
It's for him. The reason I've walked out is I'm in emergency contact for somebody on Garmin, and there's been an incident reported, so I'm going to go back out again because I've got to find out what's going on. So
we'll continue talking about you in your absence then.
You just keep talking.
Emergency what? Origami?
No, I'm in emergency contact for him if anything happens, and it's recorded an incident. So.
Oh, well.
Okay.
Is it more important than this podcast?
Just a bit.
I'll let you off then. Well, thanks for coming, Paul. He's just trying to get out of the editing, isn't he? That's what it was. I'm not in it, so I'm not editing it.
I'll be back.
we didn't mention it earlier on, by the way, but if you're listening on Podcast World, we just started recording this, and then Paul got up and disappeared because...
I thought I said something.
Because his phone went. No, just in case people are wondering why, it's just you and I talking, which is like a breath of fresh air.
Well, yeah, it's nice to hear your voice.
Yeah, it is good, isn't it? Because I do have one. So I'm quite looking forward to that. Yeah, but do you ever find yourself in that situation as well, where you end up with three or four different vlogs way behind?
Yeah, I've been on. Because I don't feel like it's current. I was talking to somebody, I did a video, do you remember the overhang? When I was talking in the previous episode, I was talking about standing on an overhang. Well, there was actually a video to that. Because it was in the snow, and I had a load of videos to get out, and for whatever reason I just ran out of time. And then by the time I got round to editing it, I thought, there's no snow on the mountain now. It feels like I can't post that video. And I was talking to a friend of mine about it, and he said, I'd love to see that video. I was like, I can't bring myself to edit it now because it feels so long ago.
Really?
Yeah, it just never got done. So maybe I'll wait for the snow again and I'll redo it.
I used to be like that, but I'm going to ignore that and just and do them anyway. Because I've got a couple from, you know, that storm Sierra, whatever it was called. Remember when you went to Porthcawl?
Kyra,
however you pronounce it.
I think she's Irish. It's Kyra, isn't it?
I'm not quite sure. I've got a couple of videos from that, but I'm still to do them. But also, and it's a good tip for you if you ever do this, right? You know, I've got one more video to do with my Ascent trip. I got 4 parts, and I've released 3 parts already. But a good tip for you is don't release them part 1, part 2.
No.
Never do that.
People think if they've not seen part 1, they won't watch part 2. Like, yeah.
That's right, yeah, because my part 2 is way more successful than my part 1, but that's because of how I've taken that to market, shall we say. You know, but eventually, when all 4 are done, I will then create a web page, and then I'll call them part 1, part 2, part 3, and part 4.
Hopefully, people want to see all your parts. No.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But my part 4, I'll probably not release that until next week because I want to skip it, put another couple of vlogs in between, and then bring it out.
So you put a lot of thought into it then, do you? Do you actually try and structure it?
No, I don't. It's just that when I came back from Asint, I was going to make 2 videos, but I was quite happy with the amount of content, so I decided to make 4 videos. Bear in mind, one of them is pretty much just an interview video, which was the last one I've just put out. Yeah. With Murray from Scotland's Mountains.
That's brilliant.
He's a lovely fella.
Yeah, brilliant video. Really enjoyed that.
It didn't come across in the video how absolutely how banjaxed I was climbing that mountain.
I know it did.
Oh, did it? I was absolutely knackered.
But that wasn't even like it was a speed bump really in comparison to the rest of them, isn't it?
Yeah. Have you seen some of the mountains he climbs?
Yeah.
Some of the footage I put together, I'm embarrassed to call myself a photographer because honestly, I'm not joking. But some of the footage I put together from his videos, because I was downloading them all and snipping bits.
It's depressing, isn't it?
They're just absolutely brilliant.
Been a collision.
Can I get an external one?
What was I saying then?
That would.
You weren't listening.
No, you were saying that his footage, how it shows some. I mean, his lifestyle and his hobby and his passion is just incredible, isn't it? It's incredible, inspiring.
It's made me think now I need to buy a drone again.
See, I'm going to climb.
Because have you seen some of the ridges he was walking on? And then obviously you set your drone off to do a 360 around you.
You can't often get a drone up there. The amount of times I've carried a drone up a mountain,
and it's too windy.
It's just, and you just can't risk it, and it's just not, because if you crash that drone, you've got to go and get it.
Did you watch the end of my video footage? The end of that film? You didn't?
No, I didn't get to the end of it. No, I didn't.
No, I didn't get to the end of it. Well, thanks a lot.
I'm waiting for
all of them. Because I watch all of yours.
I'm waiting to get all of them.
Oh, is that what you're doing? Yeah. Wait to get all 4 parts
I suffer with insomnia, so what I do is I put one of your videos
send you straight off.
I take my tablets and then, no, I did. I got 3/4 of the way through. I'm trying to think now where I got to, but no, it's who were the other guys on the mountain as well?
It's right at the end. Right at the end. My walking pal, Gary, came with me.
Oh, yeah.
He was there, and we met 2 other. There was 2 other professional photographers we met up there, which was really nice. No. They were. I think they were Dutch or Belgique, but no.
Belgique.
Yeah, spoke perfect English, but obviously we were communicating with them, but they were off camera, so it didn't really matter. But they were nice guys. Anyway, yeah. So we're going off kilt ever so slightly.
Off kilt. No, he's one of those people that. I mean, if I could retire, if I won a load of money and could just retire and do nothing. I think the idea of living in the mountains and being able to do it. I've got some friends who are seriously fit and they're up the mountains every day of the week.
Yeah.
Literally climbing the damn thing every day. And it makes me feel... I mean, I meet up with them and I try hiking with them. They carry 30 kilo up a mountain quicker than I would with just normal, no gear. And I think if you have fitness... I was talking to Dave Pearce about this. If you have fitness in photography, I think it's almost better than... being a good photographer, because the idea of getting to some of these summits and the views, you wouldn't have to be good with a camera really to be able to get some of the most amazing photographs, the most amazing views.
I think that's what came across in my interview, is that he will tell you, he didn't even know what aperture and shutter speed was when he first got going, and he even when we were walking up together, he was still taking pictures on his iPhone. It doesn't matter. In social media, it's more about, as you know, it's the storytelling, it's the backstory. And when you see how fantastic some of these images are and some of the video footage, you don't need to be brilliant at photography. Yes, you don't want your images grossly overexposed and stuff like that. But it's just...
For him, it was about being out and seeing it more so than photography was definitely like a third. It was the hiking, it was the views, it was the camping, and then it was the photography, like to document
Quite intimidating, though. When you're out with somebody super fit, because we left the car and there was just a very slight incline, and we'd literally walked about 20 paces, and I'm already out of breath, and he's kind of skipping and let's get going. I'm not even warmed up, and And you're halfway up a
What
mountain.
you have to know, though, is that's a good thing to know, is you always tell yourself when you get out of the car and you know there's a big hike ahead, you tell yourself that after 10 minutes or 20 minutes you're going to start feeling fatigue.
Yeah.
But your body then adjusts.
Yeah,
It adjusts to the weight, it adjusts to the conditions, it'll just, and your mind just switches over,
Yeah.
and then you start enjoying it, and then that fatigue goes. So a lot of people will get to that first hurdle and say, I can't go any further.
Yeah.
And they'll come back and they'll say, I'm happy with this. But you push through that. And you do literally reach new level of fitness, I suppose, and yeah.
It's like a second wind, isn't it? Almost?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I did say that.
30 seconds by the time you get to the top. Yeah.
I did say that to him. I'm happy to go up as long as you're happy to go up at my pace.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I know exactly what it's like, and that's really, really important. Otherwise, you'll just push yourself, and you just do yourself an injury.
Yeah, if you don't enjoy it, you won't do it, and you'll certainly come down the mountain saying, I'm never doing it again. I mean, me and Chris Sale climbed up High Street in the Lake District a couple of months back, it might be even a year ago or so now, and his experience coming down the mountain was worse than going up, because he felt like he was just carrying too much weight, and just didn't feel like his centre of balance was right, and coming down the mountain was terrifying for him. He just thought he was going to go. The whole 2 hour or 2 or 3 hour descent for him was terrifying. So he enjoyed the prospect of climbing the mountain, because he thinks, wow, what views are we going to have, just looking forward to his first wild camp and everything like that, and the excitement got him up the mountain. But then as soon as that excitement had gone, because we had the sunrise, we're packed up, we think, I've got to climb everything down now. That's not something I relate to really, because I've never really struggled coming down a mountain, but I completely understand where he's coming from. It's not something I ever thought of. So I use my trekking poles to come down, because I think I'll get the balance. So maybe that's why.
My only worry is every time I've gone on my ass, it's always been on the descent and never on the ascent. It's always on the way down.
Should rename it ascent bottom.
No, it is always. It's always the minute you let your guard down, the minute you relax, and you start walking at a fairly decent pace, then you'll catch something that's slippery, and you're straight over on your ass.
Well, you switch off when you come down.
Yeah.
You switch off, you think, it's just a case of going down sort of thing. And then that's when you lose your concentration. When you're climbing up, you've got to keep your wits about you. I suffer with cramp massively. So when I come down a mountain, I often lock up big time. And I remember being in Scotland, actually. It's my second video of my Scotland trip. When I was coming down, because it was so steep and we had like 2 inches to stand on, my legs were cramping from calf right up to the top, both of them inside and out, and I had tears coming down my eyes. So for me, the biggest problem is the cramp aspect. But Doyle likes to think I think it was some sort of powder I'd have to force down.
That must be a medical thing.
Diarrhea.
I can't remember what it's.
Isotonic. You just need.
I've got this powder basically. A few of the guys that I go walking with are really, really.
Isn't it salt deficiency or something? Cramping.
Yeah, the amount of salt that I eat, I can't be that. So it's. But basically, I got to the top of Cadidras in the really cold conditions, and they're good conditions for cramp for me. If it's really, really cold, I can, especially when you stop, and you stop in a funny position, and you rest for a minute, and it's just... So one of the girls said, try this, and this will solve your problems. The cramp didn't exist. So every time I go anywhere, I've got one of these bags in my so I can just add it to water, and it just solves the problem. But cramp for me was worse.
Or you just get a bag and add water to it, and your cramp disappears.
You don't know, it doesn't come. No, it doesn't come. If you've got cramp, you can't get rid of it. If I've got cramp, it won't go. It will take hours.
Yeah, but explain that a bit better. It's a juice that you drink.
Yeah, water. You just basically add it to water. You just pour the sachet into water, and then just neck it. Right, it doesn't taste great, but you just neck it, and it's sort of basically you preempt the cramp. You think, well, I know climbing up is going to be fine. I don't get cramp climbing up really. You might do towards the top, but coming down, absolutely.
Well, Paul's a medical man.
Well, it's like a salt. So
but when you say salt, it's not like you have on your crisps or on your chips, is it?
Oh, it's not
salt. It's salt.
Not,
yeah, but I have loads of salt.
Yeah, it's not too dissimilar, but it's an imbalance. And any isotonic drink will work. So Lucozade isotonic.
That's right. You can't carry a Lucozade up a mountain.
No, you can't. But the powder's great. So a lot of people will carry powder.
Why can't you carry Lucozade?
You could also
carry liquid.
You could also buy salt tablets, and you can take one, but you've got to be careful. The thing is, you mentioned in that you're mentioning cramp, so you can buy little salt tablets. A lot of cyclists will take one every so often because they're sweating out. And the funny thing is you mentioned cramp, but a lot of the reasons why marathon runners drop dead is not because they've got a pre-existing heart problem. It's because they're sweating buckets and they're drinking lots and lots of water. And then the
so the salt that pushes the salt out.
Well, obviously you're sweating the salt out, but you're not replacing it, and
you're replacing it with just normal water.
Yeah, and then your heart needs those salts to electrically function properly, and then they drop dead.
So just to fill you in, what we're talking about is how fitness. Basically, we're talking about Gary's meeting up with Murray in Scotland, and how his fitness levels have basically enabled him to reach new heights.
Murray.
On the pun. So obviously, having that fitness behind you means that you can look at a mountain and think, do you know what, that'd be an amazing view. I'm running up there.
Of course.
And literally, you're going to get shots that you would just look at and think, oh, I wish I could get up there. So you wouldn't have to be a good photographer. Just get yourself up there, camp, see the sunrise, see the sunset, do some astro or whatever. You just basic photography is going to get you an amazing photograph, isn't it? Really?
Absolutely.
So,
Or you could just get a plane to the Faroe Islands and take a shot.
That's
a cheap way.
Do you know what I like about that though? Seriously, and I honestly believe that this is partly down to the success of, say, Thomas Heaton's channel as well, is that he's not doing anything that's in guidebooks. And when you go up mountains, there aren't landscape photography pictures in any guidebooks from the top of mountains. Do you know, when you go there...
your guide of arc is everywhere, isn't it?
Yeah, but you're pretty much, when you go to the top of a mountain, you've got all unique views, haven't you? So it's almost like you've got a blank canvas to work with.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I mean, if you've got the mentality that you can climb, or you've got the fitness behind you, you're going to see photography and prospects differently. You're going to think of, where are we going this weekend? Wales. All right, there's only mountains there. Oh, fantastic. I'll do a hike. I'll go get some. You wouldn't say, what's the biggest, or what's the most popular, or let's climb Pen y Fan because everybody does it. Or
but what I'm saying is most people will probably start off by buying a guidebook on landscape photography in Wales, then go to Wales, go to where these pictures are in the guidebooks. No, but most people will do that though, Gareth.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think if you're going to do it on a regular basis, I think you start off with that, get your confidence, then you start, because a lot of people don't know how to read maps, and I think if you can read contours and read maps, then you can see the world completely differently. If you can learn a bit of trigonometry and work out how degrees work and how the degrees affect the sun and these things, then obviously photographers, Emaphis and Photopills are good for that. But that, I think, basically I'm crap at planning. So I think if I was going to be a professional landscape photographer, the number one thing I would have to improve is my planning abilities, because there's some photographers I'm good friends with who the images that they can capture are as a result of their planning ability. It's not necessarily a good photograph technically, it's just a case of being there in the right time, right place. But to know that that lens will give you that compression, to know that you would need to stand at a certain distance. And again, it's a bit like the fitness thing. If you can push past that, you're going to get things that people aren't going to be able to do, because you've got that extra fitness, or you've got that extra ability to plan.
I like the challenge of planning badly. I like the challenge of that. It's the most bizarre thing, but the wife, every time we go somewhere, right?
You're good at that though, aren't you? Is it a challenge for you to plan badly?
No, but I do plan badly all the time, but I don't know why I quite like the challenge of it. And it's probably wrong of me to say that, but oh God, when the wife plans a holiday, she plans everything meticulously. And to me, I just want to jump on an aeroplane, get to the other side, get in your digs, and then let's just see where we go. And that's me. But
imagine you came home and you spoke to your next door neighbour and said, we've just come back from there. Did you go here? And you say, no, I didn't.
No.
I mean,
happens all the time.
Yeah. You're like, no, I didn't even know that. What, you mean that was there? I've got all this time. We went to that and we didn't even realise that. I mean, it's incredible. I like to research, but I won't really do... Karis is as big on the Lonely Planet books, so she'll do a lot of digging and stuff. But I like to know visually what it's going to look like when I get there. I do. I like to.
It's a good topic of conversation, that, actually. Paul, how much planning do you...
Very little.
Can you, though? I think the ability... If you can plan...
Yes,
you
but
can.
I mean, I had to go out because the reason I've been in and out is my friend's Garmin triggered an alert and he's out fell running, and you're talking about stuff. But it ties in well for what I'm going to say next. He's fine, actually. He did it by accident, but that's fine. I was on the phone to Mountain Rescue to go and rescue him, but I don't need to. But you were talking about climbing mountains and stuff like that. My concern is people climbing mountains. We mentioned it, but touched on safety in the past, and you were talking about map reading and skills and stuff stuff like that. The mountains, when you're down low and you look up at them, they look beautiful, but the number of people that are ill prepared, and another group of, I'm going to call them idiots because Mountain Rescue called them idiots, up Ben Nevis in pair of jeans and trainers, is don't underestimate when you see people like Murray. Murray is an outdoor mountaineer, and his expertise is great. So even if your fitness is great, the planning has got to be meticulous if you're going up mountains. Number one, to tell people where you go, that you're going, to leave, like him, if that lad who's contacted me via Garmin, that system, if he had fallen over and broken his leg, it's your Garmin GPS tracker.
He wears one, does he?
He wears one, and if he presses a button, it will contact me and a friend and his wife to tell us.
Clever system, that, isn't it?
And
so he did it by mistake, did he?
He did it by mistake, yeah, which I haven't got a problem with. And I was on the phone to Mountain Rescue, and I would have give them his exact coordinates as to where he was.
Wow.
So you can't take going out into the mountains lightly.
No, of course not.
And people do, because they've got a wrap jacket on.
Yeah.
And they've got walking boots. You know what I mean, though? But they've been to a mountain, they've been to an outdoor shop, and
well,
they bought
no
boots.
idea sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and the mountains, even in the UK, will kill you. Yeah. Go where he is at the moment, which is Kinder Scout.
That's
and then Bleaklow Head, which is next to it. It is notorious for the fog coming in, and you don't know where you are. And even
so, he is hiking on this guy. He's not like in Tesco's or anything.
He's fell running.
Oh, he is.
He's on Kinder at the moment. But a young lady tragically died at Kinder Downfall last year. Fell off and died because it's a 100-foot drop. So even in your local areas, and we're not talking about Snowdonia and the lakes, you've got to be really, really careful. So sorry to interject more safety stuff.
I came across as not being very safety conscious in that some of the comments, and I hope that wasn't actually the case. I was actually a bit worried about that. And it did actually make me think, and I think if we all get excited with the cameras, we all get out. We all, I think, are guilty, I suppose, of putting safety aside for a second. But I'm not. I don't think I'm dangerous.
From the feedback I got, you were with somebody who was very experienced anyway, weren't you? The lad who standing on the ledge.
I'm all right with it because I'm a chicken. I'm a chicken. I'll only go somewhere where I know I'm absolutely safe.
I can understand that.
Yeah, but
you're never going to have a problem.
Yeah, but
with
that ledge that I was standing on, you can see this. If you go on my Instagram, you can see the picture. It's a pen of van with a snow overhang, and I literally walked to the edge of that. It was pitch black. You couldn't see anything. You could literally just see the snow, and I knew I was standing on snow, but. I don't think I was being. No, but it would have been a complete accident.
If you're going to be ultra critical, we can all be ultra critical in hindsight, can't we? Is you would have you would have had your GPS and you would have had your map and you would have stuck to the route, and you would have known that if you went 20 yards that way or 20 yards that way, that you could have fallen down.
Yeah, but an overhang can come up and blow up like that. So the GPS would still tell you you're on land because you technically are. You're above it. So, but the overhang has built up and gone over it. So you're on like a ramp. Do you know what I mean? So I think the GPS would still tell you you're safe. I don't know.
No, if you'd be following the route up.
Yeah, but you've got eyes though, haven't you?
Yeah.
You've got eyes.
Sometimes I think I have.
It's not.
You wouldn't walk. You're not going to walk 500 feet in the air blind because it's dark and use that as an excuse.
It's not about
that's never going to happen.
Criticism. You could be walking up and you can be on an arete in the Lake District, and a gust of wind comes and blows you off and you're dead. The reason I mentioned safety again is that has got to be an inherent part of your planning if you're going somewhere, even that you don't class as remote. Make sure that somebody knows where you are and what time you're going to be back. Even if it's in your local woodland, it's a good idea because you could be 100 yards away from people and they can't hear you. Carrying a whistle is a good idea as well.
Well, but my camera bag's got a whistle built into it.
So's mine.
Yeah, all my low pro ones, haven't they?
Yeah, my lad found it.
So it's good for weddings, isn't it?
Yeah. Kind of go whoop whoop. Get the dance floor going. Our DJ spin it.
As regards landscape photography, I'll plan a shoot if I'm going to a location that's a number of hours away, we're using TPE, so ephemeris, to see what angle, where the sun's going to be coming from and that type of thing. And also, I was talking about this at Batley actually. And also Golden Hour, which is another app which will give me
Golden Hour?
Golden Hour 1, it's called. It's really, really good. It's about 90% accurate, I'd say. And what it will do is it gives you the chance of getting a good sunrise or a good sunset.
Underlighting, yeah. I've got Skyfire in TPE.
TPE, yeah.
Is Golden Hour free then?
No, it's about £2, but it's worth it. No, $2.99.
Oh right, good grief! I'm paying, I think, £30 a year for Skyfire.
I get Sky Candy. Does the same thing.
Does it really?
Yeah, it's free.
And it's cracking. And
I'll have to look at that one then. If I'm paying £30 a year for something, there we are.
And then Clear Outside is another one.
That doesn't work down by me.
Yeah,
it always says the same. Yeah. It never works.
Right. Well, it does for me, and I'll use that as well. Then you mentioned maps. Now I can map read, and I'll have a look at a map. But excuse me, but the TPE is absolutely brilliant because you can put your location on and the direction that you're shooting. It'll show you your elevation and it'll show you where the light's going to catch on the mountain and stuff like that. And I'll use that as well. But I always have a backup plan when I go out and shoot. So if the main location where I go doesn't have the conditions that I like, then I'll have some form of intimate backup plan, whether or not it's some woodland or whether or not it's a stream or a river, something that I could go and shoot intimate shots. And this is what I was saying to the lads at Batley. I think it's a great shame when people travel, especially hours and hours and hours, maybe to the Lake District to try and get an image, and then that sunrise doesn't happen, and then they go home disappointed.
Wrong time of year or something like that.
Yeah, and they go home disappointed. Because there's so many other opportunities which are not your archetypal, iconic sunrise and sunset shots at Derwentwater or whatever, but just down the road you can go somewhere intimate and get some lovely stream or river shots or tree shots.
That's part of the journey, though, isn't it? It's, I mean, maybe not worth driving 4 hours for, but it's part of the journey, isn't it? I mean, the amount of times I've been, and I think I've done my research, and I think I'm really not good at planning, and I can read a map, and I think I can plan. And what I always struggle with is planning something in the future. If I have an idea for, let's say, like the Milky Way or a constellation or something like that, or a particular tide that only happens at a certain time of the year, I struggle with a distant plan. If I'm looking at the weather this weekend and there's a mixture of cold air and it's a clear sky or whatever like that, and you think, well, what's the moon doing or whatever, that's not so bad. You can start getting excited about it. But when you look at some photographers that will tell you it took them a year or 2 years before that moon is in that position, and you think, well, okay, where do I start with that? Because I know unless I was physically stood in the field with the lens and wrote everything down, I think, right, this is where I need to be, but in 2 years' time, because then that tree will align up with, whatever. So I think I could do it then, but doing it off an app or off a computer software, I struggle without being there.
I don't do anything like that.
Anything. That surprises me with you, Gary. I have to be honest. Do you plan at all then, or not?
No, I just like the chaos.
Plan to fail.
I like the chaos of it. I don't know why. I don't know why. It might be silly to be like that.
I challenge you then to plan your next vlog.
Yeah, but I very rarely ever come away without pictures that I'm happy with. Very rarely. I think, to me, that's the challenge, is to go there and, oh, damn, there's nothing here. So now I'm going to have to force myself to look, to work harder, to walk further. I don't know why. You could probably listen to people now listening to this podcast cringing, thinking,
no, I don't.
That's the beauty of it.
I got to agree with you there in one respect. It is the artistic nature in you because you're thinking from a challenge point of view, I'm going to get something today.
Yeah, and we're talking landscape photography now, obviously. That's street photography you can't plan, obviously.
No, that's what I'm saying. That I'm like that. Is if I meticulously planned it, it would take the fun out of it for me.
Yeah.
So, and also, obviously, if you meticulously plan something, the chances of disappointment are high if you get to that location, you travelled hours and you can't get the shot.
But imagine if you come back with a photograph and you think, right, okay, it'd be nice if the sun was in that place. You can look at the photograph and plan from the photograph. So you think, I'm going to go back to that exact location in the autumn or when the sun is over there.
I do that all the time.
So you're planning, but like after the fact. sort of thing. I can do that. I can always go there and think that's the word I was looking for. Yeah, I couldn't think of the word.
But it's that's scouting. So you go.
Well, you can't call every shot a recce, though, can you? It's sort of like everything's a cheat, then, isn't it?
But planning retrospectively, that's not right in a sentence.
But some of the people I follow are just incredible. And it makes their photography look so much better than it is, because you think, well, not sound bad, but I think if you've got fitness and the ability to plan, you are leaps and bounds above most people, most photographers who've got like an amazing camera and know how to use it. I think if you've got the ability to plan, because anybody can stand in a nice location and fluke it with a nice sunset, but if you know when you need to be there for the certain tide, or when you need to be there for the sun to be that far around, or when you need to be there for, if you can plan that, your photography has to be, more consistently, because you're going to know where exactly on the coast or on the mountain, you're going to know exactly where you should be going to get the best of the conditions.
But the apps will do that.
What I mean is, you wouldn't know what locations to put in the app, because if you haven't planned in advance, you'd say, right, when the weather looks right, I'll jump on that mountain and see what the apps are saying. You need to.
I do that. If I'm going to go to Northumberland, I mean, Northumberland's not a good thing, but because sunrise and sunset comes, and you're going to get them over the sea anyway. But if I'm going to go somewhere, for example, I will look on TPE and I will look at where the sun is rising and where the sun is setting in that location, and if it's not going to be right for what shot I want, then I won't go.
I think something I discovered because of a complete fluke, actually, and I know Julian Baird does this, is using Google Maps or My Maps. I got this bit confused. I couldn't work out why I couldn't do this, but I thought there was a way on Google Maps to actually mark sunset or create your own tabs. Basically, you create your own maps with your own markers. And I know Julian does this, and it's actually My Map, so you create your own sunset location tab or astro location tab, or whatever you want. You've got this ability, so you can literally click a thing, and you've got all these. So if you said to me, I went this place the other day, it was fantastic for sunrise, I could run on there and drop a pin and think, right, okay, next time I'm looking for a sunrise location and I'm never going to remember it, then that's one I can. So you end up with this map or this catalogue of potential locations that you might have been to in the past, recce'd 15 times or whatever, but you've got this ability to plan from that. Because how can you plan a photo shoot from a location you don't know where to go? Because half the battle for me is to find a location that's going to suit the environment, suit the conditions.
I don't get you. What do you mean?
Well, if I know that the weather's going to be good, and I think, well, okay, the clouds look like they'll be on, where shall I go? I've got the Brecon Beacons, I've got Pembrokeshire, I've got the Gower. Which one shall I go to? Which one's going to be best? And half the battle I find, I spend ages thinking, right, shall I go here? Shall I go there? And if I had just had a list of all these shots to just jump on and say, right, okay, let's go there, that's cut out all that worrying. So planning is something that.
I think there's two camps. I think that camp, there's nothing wrong with that camp. And a lot of landscape photographers do it exactly that way. But I'm in his camp because it's just my personality. I have to plan meticulously.
No, I'm in that camp because I can't do it. Yeah. I wish I could.
Right.
Yeah. So we're all in a bad camp.
Imagine a wedding then. You were photographing a wedding, the bride and groom say, I want to photograph with the sun behind us and to silhouette us. With that Tuscany wedding I did, I was frantically trying to look for a location that I could get the bride and groom that wasn't too difficult to get to, potentially without a car or whatever, looking for all the possible problems. And I couldn't work out because of the elevation, because it was in like the castle was in like a valley. I couldn't work out anywhere that I would get this. And they wanted this photograph. So it was on me to obviously plan this and to work out where.
If you're in the valley and TP says that the sun's not going to hit it, you've got no choice but to go out the valley.
Oh, no, there's always a way. There's always a way. But obviously if you're there... Well, you have to.
Maybe at a certain time.
If it's your job and they say customer wants this, either you create it or are you with a flash or whatever like that. But the idea has to be there in the image. You have to. But the idea is to plan it. If you can plan that, you think, oh, okay, that's easy enough. There's an area there that the sun sets in that direction. If you can do that, then it takes the stress out and you ain't going to worry about it, have you? Because
I think you talk about two different things there. You're talking about wedding photography or photography for a client, and then there's landscape photography planning, isn't there? So
no. If you photograph for yourself, and you got
I'll tell you a funny story about this.
If you got an idea of an image, you think, well, how did he get to the Milky Way behind that tree? Every time I've been there, the Milky Way's over there, and it turns out it's the end of the season, or it turns out it's the beginning of the season. Then how you'd have to find a way of planning that to work out when the constellation is going to be in exactly the right place.
Yeah, if there's a particular shot that you want, absolutely, yeah, you'd be daft not to plan it.
Yeah.
That's if you want a particular shot. But I'll give you just a slight, for instance, of how bad I am. We photographed a wedding in Portugal last year, and they've got their own private beach, right? This hotel, big posh hotel. I never researched it or anything. The first thing I thought of, oh, fantastic. When we take them out for their meal, when we take them over the picture after a meal, we'll do a lovely sunset shot and everything, without actually realising that the coast that their hotel was on the east side.
No.
So it's the opposite side, right? But I never even researched it, even when we were there on the day. It was the case of going to the beach and realising there's no sun because it's on the other side. Yeah. But then instantly, we come away with some fantastic pictures. Because
I can't handle that though. If they tell me that's what they want,
they didn't specify that. That would be wrong of me if they said we really want a sunset shot, because then the first thing I would do is research where they're. But
when you do it, wedding's a good idea, a good example, because I know a lot of photographers that when they come away from a wedding, regardless of what the customers ask for, there's certain photographs from every wedding they want to get. Yeah, like certain effects with lighting, certain effects with flash, certain poses, certain things.
I never get anything like that.
So I don't, because I'm very much a candid photographer. I literally approach it like a street shoot. I've very little interaction at all. But I think if I'm doing weddings now, I think definitely to build a portfolio, I wanna make sure that I get A, B, and C shot from every wedding. And even if the customer, because the customers aren't 90% of the time or 99% of the time aren't photographers, if you gave them a photograph that they weren't expecting, think, flipping heck, how'd you do that? I never thought of that. Well, that's on me to think of those things. That's not on the customer to say, we really want the sun to come around, to create a shadow, to have this nice light. They're not going to know that, because that's what they've employed me for.
You contradicted yourself there, because you said you're a candid photographer.
I am.
But you plan.
No, I don't. Not for weddings. But I say what I want to, because when I see other photographers and I speak to them, they say that they have to have.
But do you not think that would ruin the Gareth Danks?
But they wouldn't.
People will hire you as a wedding photographer because of your portfolio, and your portfolio isn't a planned portfolio. You're a candid shooter. Or don't you think?
But then you've always that's fair enough to say. But then you've always got the group photographs you've got to take anyway, so they can't do them candidly, can you? No. So people say we just want nice, natural, no posy photographs. And by the way, halfway through the day, when everybody's sort of starting to get sloshed, they'll say, "Can we do the group photographs now?" You think, well, hang on, you wanted candid shots, so you can't have both. So if you stuck to your guns, you would know you'd never get booked, because no one's ever going to book you if you're not going to do group shots. So you can't do a wedding fully candid, really.
You have to do group shots.
You have to do group shots. You can't get away from it. If you forget one, if you miss one off, even though they've asked for a candid photographer, if you miss one off the groups, you're in the soup. So I think with a photographer, you plant the idea that you want this, but then when you actually give them the photographs, they say, flipping heck, how'd you do that? And now it might still be candid. It might just be talking with the sun going behind them. To them, it feels candid.
I've got you.
Right? Yeah. You're not necessarily adding anything to it. You're just thinking, right, I am aware that the sun will be setting over there. So at this point, can you come outside and you guys have a talk? Or like the wedding I've got in Cornwall in 3 weeks, they want me to photograph the fireworks and stuff in the background. Now, every time a wedding customer said to me, well, there's going to be fireworks, can you photograph that? It's been a flop with the weather or something like that. I've never, ever managed to pull it off. Never, ever. So every time I go there thinking, right, where are we going to, what silhouette am I going to get? What effect am I going to get? What, if we're going to use any flash to sync with the fireworks, what images am I going to achieve? And it never happens.
Don't get me going with wedding photography, but going back to landscape photography, this is how I rock and roll. Is basically I'll use an example of, let's say, Bleetan. Right? So next week I decide I'm going out shooting on Wednesday. I fancy going to Bleetan. That's the extent of it. That's the extent of my planning.
But I want to do Bleetan in the snow and camp there. So that's another one I am trying to plan.
Yeah, but that's something very specific. You're not going to get that in July. What I'm saying is, next Wednesday, for instance, I might decide I'm going to go to Bleetan, in which case I know it's a sunrise location, but I don't care whether it's raining, whether it's snow on the ground. I'm just there next Wednesday, and whatever I have to deal with, I have to deal with.
But if you, I'm not saying you're wrong, but if you did plan, maybe you would find that there's an area around the corner that is more suitable for...
The only thing that would happen if I planned is it's raining and the chances are there's not going to be a good sunrise, in which case I'm going to stay at home because it's easier.
Yeah, I get that.
So the planning would prevent you from going?
Yeah.
The problem...
it's a 50-50 split then, I suppose, isn't it? Yeah.
It goes back to what...
It is though, isn't it?
Yeah, it goes back to what I said to loads of people when they listen. Not you guys listening, but if they care to listen.
Sorry, say that again.
it's the whole, and we've talked about bucket list shots in the past, and what frustrates me is, from a people point of view, is they can do what they want, but it's frustrating when, if you plan it and you go to the location and you want that shot and you can't get it and you go home disappointed. If you're doing it Gary's way and you're doing it my way, if I go to Bleat Tarn, I'm not worried if I don't get the archetypal sunrise shot. But I do know that if you just walk across the bridge and if it's peeing it down with rain and then go to the left, there's a beautiful vista in front of you that looks beautiful, whether it's raining, windy or whatever. But that's that local knowledge. But I don't think if I'd have gone to Bleat Tarn for the archetypal shot in the morning and then said, oh, well, it's not working, and went home, I wouldn't even know that image existed.
So I was doing a shoot in the Lake District, and I wanted to know where to camp, and I knew I found a blog, and this guy was really, really good in detail with his blog. So I sort of said to this guy, I said, look, I'm doing a shoot down there. If you want to come along, we can obviously push your blog in the video, sort of thing, because he was really knowledgeable. And I says, just these are the places I'm thinking of going. And even with my research, and it seemed that I was going to the right places, and it seemed everything was going to be right with the research I'd done. He said, don't go there on that day because of this, don't go there on that day. I was thinking, his local knowledge knew that, and because he camped there so many times, he knew. He said, to be honest with you, I wouldn't bother with that place, I'd go to this place. I was like, even with the planning that I'd done, I thought, really wish the guy could have made it. He was going to come, but he couldn't get the time. But I was thinking, I really wish that I had that ability to plan to that level, because where he told me to go ended up being like a really, really good location. I was thinking, if I'd have done it my way, I'd have just messed that up.
Yeah, but you're saying...
you live and learn, but I would rather come back with an image of thinking, I know this is going to happen because I know the sun's going to be there, or I know the sun sets at the other side, or it's going to light up there, or whatever the variable is. You've got more control.
You have. I mean, if you're talking about where the sun's coming, TP will tell you that straight away. It's a 2-minute job. You don't.
Yeah, but then you've got things like elevation and things.
Yeah, but it does that.
I know, but you've got the ability to understand it is one thing, isn't it?
Yeah. But the chap you were talking about, that's local knowledge. He's got that knowledge by experiencing that location.
But it proved me wrong, even though my level of trying to plan proved wrong, is what I'm saying. Even though I attempted to plan, it still said, no, I know what you're saying, but no, I wouldn't do that. I'd go here. I'm like,
sometimes you just got to suck it and see.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned Bleat Tarn. You get Bleat Tarn and it's peeing it down with rain, climb up Side Pike and get some shots over the Langdales. It's just knowing, because I love to explore. If I go somewhere like that, and I'll maybe get the shot of Bleat Tarn if the conditions are right, but then I'll have a mooch.
Yeah.
And then I think, well, that's going to make a nice shot. Or that's not going to make a nice shot.
I suppose as well, if it's the benefit of having time, and if you get there at sunrise, you think, well, I'm getting there 5 minutes before sunrise, realistically, isn't it? Because you can't really explore in the dark. So you've only got that blue hour before, a bit of glow just to sort of get your idea, unless you've been and scouted it before, or you've seen pictures or whatever, Google Earthed it, whatever. But with sunset, if you've got the idea of, say, sunsets at 4 or 5 o'clock, then you get there at 12 o'clock, have a wander around, get a feel of the place. To be honest with you, that's what
my planning.
Yeah. Well, but that makes more of a day of it anyway, because who wants to climb a mountain and get there 15 minutes before the photograph? So you can spend the day on that.
There are people that will get there half an hour before sunrise. They'll take the shot at Bleat Tarn and then they'll go home. Because everybody's different when they take photography. That's why, we've mentioned the bucket list stuff in the past. That doesn't rock my boat. I don't want to go, and there's nothing. It's not because I'm not calling anyone, but I'm going to go to Bleat Tarn and shoot the sunrises. That's not what gets my juices flowing. Going up, as I say, Side Pike when it's absolutely siling it down with rain and the clouds are coming in and out, and then waiting for that light to hit to get the shot. That's what rocks my boat. But we're all different. If we were all the same, it'd be boring, wouldn't it?
I remember taking a photograph of Tryfan in Gwyn Valley in Snowdonia, and it was one I planned because I knew I wanted to get it in the snow. It's the one with the waterfall. Everybody's been up the side of Pennyroll, isn't it, with the waterfall there, the stream. And I knew I wanted it in the snow, and I planned the weather and everything. And I was looking forward to it, and I got there and it actually worked. Everything works. It's one of my favourite images to date because, I mean, it's the classic shot, but it's the fact that I planned it to that degree and it worked that made me, and I was only new to filters as well. This photograph's probably about 6 years old, 5 years old. I didn't really know what I was doing, that's evident. And Not much has changed either. But it all came together, and I actually look at that photograph till now, realising that was the result of my attempt at planning. And I felt such a buzz of it. And I thought I went there specifically that time of year to get that shot or to get something from there in that shot. So, the only issue is with mountains, you get that they have their own climate, don't they? So quite often you can't plan a clear sky over there. It's no moon. Let's go and photograph the Milky Way. You get there, and the mountains form in its own cloud.
Yeah, I think it's no mistake that the most accomplished landscape photographers in the Lake District are the ones that live in the Lake District, because if they're going out walking the dogs and carrying the camera, they're there for every single conditions. Joe Cornish, he does beautiful Yorkshire, North Yorkshire shots. He lives in the location, so he can go in, week out. It could be 10 minutes drive for him.
Yeah, of course.
And so you can get those conditions. Whereas, for example, somebody who lives in London, there may be a trip once a month up to the lakes.
And bet your bottom dollar the conditions aren't right when you get there.
And that's why I've always gone on about it. Is their bucket lists again? I don't want people to get put off landscape photography because they travel all the way up to the Peak District to get the Winnet's Pass shot, and they can't get it because the weather's pants when there's plenty of other things you can shoot.
I know Alan Wallace drove 4 hours up to Ogwen to photograph the Milky Way because he knew by the app that it was going to be behind Tryford and it was a clear sky. So he drove up there, climbed up the side of Penrhyn and back. So 4 hours each way in one night for one photograph, and it actually worked. He actually got it. So
but that's different.
That's different, yeah, because that's the Milky Way, and the Milky Way he knew was going to be.
But
there.
if he knew the conditions were going to be right, he wouldn't have got in the car otherwise, would he? Because if you've got an idea in mind, think right. As soon as the conditions, the moon is going to be at it, whatever. Right. You know, you've got a small window, and you think
that's astrophotography getting the Milky Way in a certain location, isn't it?
I don't think it's different as far as like you're planning a sunrise, planning a sunset. I think if anything, astrophotography is more difficult because you can do.
I think so.
Because you're right. Because you can do landscape photography with clouds or without clouds. With astrophotography, you've got cloud. You get there, it's like, well, I've just driven 4 hours for nothing. Whereas you can still do normal landscape photography. So
of course,
if
I was an astrophotographer, which I could barely class myself as a landscape photographer, but you've got to meticulously plan, I presume, to make sure.
He's one of the people that's a huge inspiration, or people that I look at and think, of all of his images, you can see in his photography how much of that is planning. It's like 1% pressing a button.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and you've got to admire these people. I think they're absolutely brilliant. That's where
I fall short, 100%. If I was going to be teaching,
but that is different. I don't want anybody to start thinking that, if I was going to do astrophotography, I would just turn up and climb a mountain because that would just be silly.
Yes.
That's not me at all.
It is, but when you get to a level in your photography, in your normal landscape photography, if you think to yourself, how am I going to get better? Well, the answer to that is learn how to plan.
No, I don't think so.
I got to agree with
I'm
Gary
totally against that.
My problem is that getting better is going out and getting a shot when possibly you couldn't have done in the past. So as he says, he goes to Bleetarn and it's silent it down in rain, and he comes away with something. And what that does is in your data bank that goes into your brain, and that's experience, and for the next time.
But then how would you get the next time? You say about the next time, how would you know when the next time is?
Well, I've learned that because it's raining and that's it, and I've had a mooch, and then I've learned.
But how would you know when the next time is to go back?
No, but you're talking about doing something specific.
But you're saying like the Bleetarn shot or whatever, and you get there and it's raining, and you take a photograph of something else, even though it's raining, you come away with something.
Yeah.
But the shot that you wanted to get when you got there, you didn't get, and the reason was because of the weather. But if you'd have planned, but how do you know when to go back?
Well, you'd plan it.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. If you wanted to get that photograph better, you think, well, I got the photograph I wanted, but the conditions were rubbish. Yeah,
but you're saying
the only way you're going to improve your photography is by planning.
Yeah, but...
No, you're talking about doing something specific.
Yeah.
I'm not. To do what Alan Davis does...
Alan Wallace.
Alan Wallace, my apologies. Right,
Davis.
It's very specific what he does.
But it's not just him. When I read about it, it's landscape photographers, when they've... Especially if you were going to somewhere like the Faroes or Iceland or whatever, you think, well, I want to time it in with the Northern Lights, but I also want to be able to do this. The amount of research that these top photographers do, they never wing it. None of them ever wing it.
But you're talking. If I was going to the Iceland,
I'm not just talking about Northern Lights.
If I was going to Iceland or the Faroes, I would meticulously plan, because it's a long distance for me to travel.
But what's the difference though? A 4 hour drive.
Well, because that 4-hour drive.
I still value that. I still value that.
I think
that effort, that shoot.
Part of the enjoyment for me, if I was going to the Faroes and to Iceland, Iceland is the enjoyment of planning.
Of course, it would.
Of where I'm going to go.
But because you do that as well, though, because you want to get the best out of the images you're going to get there.
Yeah.
You think, well, we arrive on the Saturday, but the Saturday where we're staying is a sunrise location. So as soon as we get there, we need to bomb it around the other side. Well, if you didn't plan, you wouldn't know that.
But I think
you can't have 2 shots at that. It costs a fortune to get there in the first place.
We're talking about locality. Is me and Gary are very lucky of where we live. We live very close to the East Coast. We live very relatively close to Snowdonia, the Lake Districts and stuff like that. So for me to go to the lakes is the 3-hour round trip. It's not a whole huge time wasted, and if I was going to go and I was looking for a sunrise shot and I got there and the conditions weren't quite right, then I've got the ability to go and find something else, and that's what worries me with the planning is you maybe never get out of bed.
We'll wrap up there, but just as an example, if I turn up at a corporate location, they say we want a photograph of our building. I can't just rock up and say, well, I'll make something.
No, but that's specific. That's very different, Gareth.
Either way, if I even went down to the coast, I'd still be thinking, right, I know where the sun is going to be setting. I'm not going to go to the wrong side of the peninsula because the sun's over there.
No.
So how would you know that without planning?
But also saying
there's degrees of planning.
Yeah. I
told you I use apps, so I will look at those apps. I'll look if I'm going to go out.
So there's always an element of planning. It's just that I think if I was going to get any better as a landscape, I think I've hit a bit of a wall. Right. And if I was going to get any better, I think the biggest learning thing I could take is the ability to plan.
Yeah,
I think I definitely would see a difference in that. Editing, I think, is something that will develop over time. I don't think you can rush into that. I think it just goes through fashion stages, but definitely planning. The idea of planning anything has got to make you better at that. It doesn't matter what it is, photography or not.
I think you might be surprised, though, with certain people to just assume that all the top photographers are the ones that plan meticulously. I think you might be surprised.
Well, maybe, but it's just the impression I get. I think you can get lucky. Don't take me wrong. I've been to some places complete fluke and been absolutely blown away.
From listening to your conversation, from having this conversation, I think you've been a bit hard on yourself. It sounds to me like you do plan. I think it's
it's in me to plan, but not. I don't think I'm particularly good at it.
But I mean, as I said, when you're saying you're winging it, I will look on Clear Outside and I will see if I want to go and think, is it going to be a frosty morning or is the fog going to be there at a certain time? But what I won't do is I won't let that put me off going out and shooting.
No, you can always. I mean, I just did a street video in London in absolute torrential wind and rain. If you'd have planned it, you'd have looked at the wind and rain, and if you weren't filming, you wouldn't have gone. So I get that, but to me, that's the part of the challenge as well. I love it when somebody says it's impossible to get a photograph in there. Give me the camera. I love that.
But you mentioned the iconic shots. If I was going to shoot an iconic shot, I would plan that because I'd want to make sure the sun was right, and I wouldn't be travelling just for that one single shot. No. So I think it's what you're trying to do. You mean we're talking specificity there? So
I'm not being general, just a stroll down the beach. Because let's be honest, you can't go down the beach in any conditions and not take a photograph. It's always easy, isn't it? Really, you go to a pretty place with a camera, you can always get a photograph. There's no real challenge there. You go on a mountain, you've got a beautiful view. It's crap weather. It doesn't matter. You can always find something to make it work. It's stepping that game up. If every photograph had that level, you'd be thinking, how do I get past that rung? How do I get past that wall?
I've always said it's a bit of a dichotomy with YouTube and landscape photography, because to actually showcase you being an absolutely amazing landscape photographer, you can't do it week in, week out and get those amazing shots.
No. Few and far between, definitely.
But then there are people who like you, Gary, who are successful at getting pretty images week in, week out. And I think that the reason
that's not what you said about Gary last night.
I think that the reason is his experience because of his background, but because he's willing to go out and think, right, that shot doesn't work. What other shot does? And so he's built that experience.
Is that true, Gary?
Well, no, but Bleetown is a sunrise location. You go there first thing in the morning, and the chances are sometimes on a good morning you're going to be queuing up to take a picture. Yeah. But nobody's there at night.
No.
I'm not there at night myself, so maybe there are some people there at night. I'm only
They're
generalising
camping
here.
for the sunrise the following day.
but the chances are no one's there at night because everybody knows it through their meticulous planning of being a sunrise location.
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden you can end up with some fantastic pictures.
Yeah.
Okay, so the sun might fall behind the mountains. The mountains might now be silhouetted, but wow, you're now going to have a silhouetted mountain with an orange sky or a pink sky in the background.
And it's going to be different.
And it's going to be different. And how fantastic is that? And that's through not planning or planning, but the opposite way around.
That's what
I think experience can make you plan automatically. It's like changing gear. You don't plan to change gear; you just do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's why I said I think you've been a bit hard on yourself because I think you do plan. But
if I was doing a workshop with somebody and they said I want to do a workshop in Pembrokeshire, I'd plan the life out of it.
And me.
Because somebody's money is involved.
Absolutely.
And somebody's time.
I'm not going to go to Bleatar and say...
There's no way I'd wing that. No way.
You've not been on my workshops, have you?
For good reason.
You're not going to go to take
they sound like good value.
At 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And the same with your workshops at Sky and stuff like that. You'll know what time you're going to go to certain locations. To
well, because you've made how many mistakes before going there. Yeah. Should we wrap up there anyway?
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments. Do you plan? Prove me right.
I've got a raft of apps on here that I use, but meticulously sitting down there for hours and poring over stuff. No.
Interesting to read the comments on whether people plan.
If I plan, it goes wrong.
That's true. You need to do a workshop on planning.
I'd be the last person to teach planning.
I meant you go on one.
All right. Do you know what I mean? Right.
Anyway, thanks so much for watching.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.